going to do today part 1 of chapter 10 of the book of the Covenant Code that we've been going through chapter by chapter, verse by verse, and today is part 1 of chapter 10, and next week will be part 2 of chapter 10. So what were our observations are in general in the Covenant Code? We've been instructed to measure the tabernacle and all of its ways and days of observation, and so we went through the Ark of the Covenant, the mercy seats, all of the soft materials, the hangings, the coverings, the veils. And this week we're looking at really the framework for the sanctuary, the tabernacle boards and their sockets, and so as a whole different witness. We've seen certain things in our Bible biblical fulfillment events chart that have come from the mercy seat and from the covenant, our Ark of the Covenant, and from the soft materials that all keep leading to the same revelation of the time between Adam and Noah and Jesus, and from Jesus into our generation. So this is a whole new approach of looking to see if we come with the same conclusions. So here's sort of a cutaway diagram of the tabernacle board. So we see the veils, the blue with the special covering on the top, and the cherubim design on the most holy place, separating the most holy place from the holy place. The door here, we see these boards that are highly reflective, Arcadia boards overlaid in gold, and below here we see that's the same as over here. We see these silver sockets, and we'll be talking about these today, but where the boards are inserted to. So it's kind of a cutaway diagram of the tabernacle. You can see how the tabernacle boards and the silver sockets that they stand upon are really the framework for the entire sanctuary. And because the tabernacle is a blueprint of the fulfillment of the covenant, then really it's the framework of the whole covenant. And so keep that in mind as we go to observe. So the description revealed to Moses about the tabernacle boards and the sockets is as follows. Thou shalt make boards for the tabernacle of shittim wood, and it alternates in biblical translations between shittim wood and Arcadia wood. And today, the term shittim wood is not used, but there's plenty of Arcadia wood. So anyways, it says shittim wood standing up. So these are upright boards. 10 cubits shall be the length of a board, and a cubit and a half shall be the breadth of a board. 2 tenons shall there be for one board set in another, one against another. Thus shalt thou make for all the boards. And I'll show you some pictures of this, to really, just you'll see it a little bit better here in a minute. But so there's thou shalt make for all the boards of the tabernacle, and thou shalt make the boards of the tabernacle 20 boards on the south side. So the south side be, just keep you orientated. So east is over here, west is over here, north is where we see the boards, and south is where we see just the cutaway with these sockets. So there's 20 on this side, 20 on that side, and 6 on this back west wall. So it says so 20 boards on the south side, and thou shalt make 40 sockets of silver under the 20 boards, because there's 2 sockets for every board. 2 sockets under one board for his 2 tenons, and 2 sockets under another board for his 2 tenons. And for the second side of the tabernacle, the north side, there shall be 20 boards, and there are 40 sockets, so 2 under each board. 2 sockets under one board and 2 sockets under another board. And for the side of the tabernacle westward, that's the back wall of the most holy place, there should be 6 boards. And then it says, in addition to these 46 boards, and 2 boards thou make for the corners of the tabernacle. So there's 2 corner boards along with the 46 framework boards in the 2 sides. So, and they shall be coupled together beneath and shall be coupled together above the head of it until one ring. That shall then be for both boards. So in other words, they'll be each board will be in each corner, and it'll it'll hold together the back wall, the west wall, the south wall, and the north wall. That'll be coupled together with these rings to join them as the corner boards for the whole tabernacle. They shall be for the two corners, and they shall be 8 boards, and their sockets of silver, 16 sockets, 2 sockets under one board and 2 sockets on another board. So together there's 8. There's 6 in the back plus the 2 corner boards. So when we look at the above view, we see the the hanging of the veil. We see these boards that are side by side, fit snugly together. And we see the front. The front. And we notice something, that these pillars that the hangings are on, the first 5 pillars here are not in the silver sockets. They're in like a bronze brass socket, and we'll talk about that next week. But these sockets that hold the veil between the most holy place, they're also in these silver sockets to hold it upright. And the difference between these pillars and the boards is that these pillars are held in one socket. There's not 2 per board, there's 1. And we'll talk about that next week too. We'll focus right now on the tabernacle boards. So the framework of the tabernacle and the covenant. In this chapter, we are measuring the gold overlaid 46 tabernacle boards, 2 corner boards, and the 96 socket foundation of the tabernacle that forms the foundation and framework of the tabernacle. The tabernacle pattern is the prophetic blueprint of the fulfillment of the covenant through Jesus. Thus, we are observing the framework of the covenant itself. Paul says in Ephesians 2:19-22, "Now therefore you are no more strangers and foreigners, but fellow citizens with the saints and of the household of God, and are built upon the foundation of the apostles and prophets, Jesus Christ himself being the chief cornerstone, in whom all of the building, fitly framed together, grows into a holy temple into the Lord, in whom ye also are built together for habitation of God through the Spirit." So the whole purpose of the covenant from the beginning, from Adam, was to redeem man, so that man can reconcile them to God, so that man and God can dwell together again without sin, in harmony and peace. So there's the whole, and that is the tabernacle. That the tabernacle points to the fulfillment of that covenant. So it's all about these redeemed sinners through the fulfillment through Jesus Christ. We previously measured the Ark of the Covenant and its mercy seat, the soft materials of the fence, doors, veil, and coverings of the tabernacle, and observed in the days and ways given for their observance their direct prophetic relationship to the acts of Christ and the biblical covenant event timelines from Adam to Jesus, ending in fulfillment in our generation. And now, observing the foundation, cornerstone, and framework of the tabernacle, we will observe the it's supposed to be repetition of these same truths in another independent witness to them all. Here we will observe more clearly than ever before the Redeemer and the redeemed of the covenant. So here's how these fit together, just for a better description. So you have the boards. Each board has 2 what it calls tenons that fit into the slot of each silver socket. So as they fit in, so there's 2 silver sockets below. Those 2 fit one board, and we keep it upright. And then they're put side by side by side, and then there's these poles behind them all, these 3 or whatever, and they're rings that keep them all lined up as well. But just so we see how it works, there's these silver sockets that are the foundation upon which these boards are held upright, and they're all connected to the corner boards, and then form the walls and the framework of the tabernacle, which all the veils and all the coverings are hung upon. And it housed inside of it the Ark of the Covenant and all the furnishing. So the foundation is the silver sockets. The pure silver sockets of the sanctuary, which is the holy and most holy place, of the tabernacle, are purposed to serve as the foundation the upright overlaid gold boards stood upon. There were 2 sockets for every 1 board. The boards were made with 2 tenons, so that each tenon of a single board would precisely fit into the 2 side-by-side sockets underneath. This was described as 2 sockets, and when you read the word, it says 2 sockets under 1 board for his 2 tenons. So naming a board as him, so there's 2 sockets on his board. Some biblical translations read 2 feet under 1 board for his 2 tenons. The English word tendons is derived from the original Greek tenon. So this original Greek in the Bible is tenon, but when we use the word tendons today, it's derived from that same word. And tendons connect muscle to bone. The spring ligament, for example, connects the bones in our ankle and foot to support your body weight. So these, tenons, if we use today's translation, it would be tendons, and they connect the feet to the upright board. And it says to support your body weight, they support the weight of those boards. Origin of the silver. So we're now, where did that silver come from? It came from one source, and it's very important to see that source. So the origin of the silver foundation sockets, redemption. The origin of the silver that was used to cast the sockets of the sanctuary of the tabernacle was specifically revealed to Moses and documented in the tabernacle pattern. And the silver of them that were numbered of the congregation was 100 talents, and 1,760 shekels. So in other words, when it combined all together, it was 100 talents plus an extra 1,750 shekels. After the shekel of the sanctuary, a bekah for every man, that is a half shekel for every man, after the shekel of the sanctuary, for everyone that went to be numbered from 20 years old and upward, for 600,000 and 3,550 men. So that was the number. Moses was told to take a census when they were saved in the Exodus. He used to take a census of every man over 20 years old that had been freed from slavery, and that number of men was 600,355 men, and so for each one was supposed to be a half shekel paid. And the 100 talents of silver were cast the sockets of the sanctuary and the sockets of the veil. 100 sockets of the 100 talents, a talent for a socket. So when we went back and looked at these, at this diagram, look at this one instead, as both. So there's 48 boards, I guess you have 46 boards plus the 2 corner boards, that's 48. Each has 2 silver sockets, so that's 96 silver sockets. And then you have these 4 pillars, 1, 2, 3, 4. Each socket weighs a talent. So there's 96 plus 4, there's 100 talents of silver. Every one of these sockets came from that money that was used, the redemption money, that census. The extra 1,750, so there's 100 talents here. The extra 1,750 is all throughout all the soft materials. It's the hooks and the clasps from the outer fence all the way through the hangings, whatever, and it's mentioned here as well. So the lion's share of this redemption money was used specifically for the sockets of the tabernacle, and the bit that was left over, less than a talent that was left over, was used to clasp all these things together, the soft materials to the hard materials. Let's see here. Sorry. The 100 talents silver cast sockets of the sanctuary and the sockets of the veil, 100 sockets for 100 talents, a talent for a socket. And of the 1,775 shekels, so the leftover doesn't make up less than a talent, he made hooks for the pillars and overlaid their chapters and filleted with them. So they became the silver for these hooks and connectors that connected all the soft materials. When the Lord rescued the Hebrew slaves from Egypt through his servant Moses, he commanded Moses to carry out a census of the men that were aged 20 years and older. And here's what he commanded him. When thou take the sum of the children of Israel after their number, then shall they give every man a ransom for his soul unto the Lord when thou number them, that there be no plague among them. When they number them, this they shall give every one that passes among them that are numbered. And instances that there be no plague among them. There's a purpose for this numbering, and and it was instructed to number them, but they're also in this numbering. They gave, the purpose was they recognized, the ransom for their freedom, and they gave this half shekel. If you recall in the Bible, David decided to do a census, but he didn't take in any redemption money or their shekel, whatever, and there was a plague among them. So it's a very solemn, specific thing. This they shall give. Everyone that passes among them are numbered half a shekel after the shekel of the sanctuary, and a shekel is 20 gerahs. A half shekel shall be the offering of the Lord. Everyone that passes among them that are numbered from 20 years old and above shall give an offering unto the Lord. The rich shall give no more, and the poor shall give no less than a half shekel when they give an offering unto the Lord to make an atonement for your souls. And thou shalt take the atonement money for the children of Israel, and thou shalt appoint it to the service of the tabernacle of the congregation, that it may be a memorial unto the children of Israel before the Lord, to make an atonement for your souls. So when they built this tabernacle, and they had these 100 1 talent sockets, everyone who had paid their half shekel could see themselves in that socket. They're in the tabernacle. The tabernacle's in them. It's a memorial to their rescue, a memorial to their ransom, their freedom, and it's there to remind them of that the Lord freed them, that they were redeemed at a price. The total amount of men aged 20 years old and older that were rescued in the Exodus from Egypt was 603,550 men. Each was to pay a half shekel of silver as the atonement price for their souls. The current value of a biblical half shekel of silver is about $10. The same amount was to be paid by each man so that the poor could afford to pay it, and the rich could not obtain greater indulgences by paying more. And we see that, one of the reasons why the Protestant church broke away from the Catholic Church was this buying of indulgences, where if you paid money, you could be, given extra freedom from sin, and et cetera, et cetera. In the original pattern, the rich or the poor, you didn't gain any more, and you didn't lose any more. They each paid this $10 equivalent ransom for your soul. Each half shekel was to be paid unto the Lord and appointed to the service of the tabernacle in a memorial to their atonement. So if we take 603,500 times a half a shekel, equals 301,750 shekels. A talent is 3,000 shekels. So 3,175 shekels divided by 3,000 equals 100 talents, with the additional 1,750 shekels remaining. So it's precisely from this. There's not one shekel missing. It's all in the tabernacle, and it's all the redemption and atonement money. And the 100 talents of silver were cast the sockets of the sanctuary, and the sockets of the veil, and 100 sockets of the 100 talents a talent for a socket. And of the 1,750 or 775 sockets, he made hooks for the pillars and overlaid their chapiters and filleted them. So a ransom is a price paid for the release of a prisoner. The silver half shekel was to be a memorial of the price paid for the release of the former slaves through the atonement of the Lord. 100 talents of the same silver was used exclusively for the silver sockets of the tabernacle. Each of the 48 boards stood upright upon 2 sockets, 40 times 2, 96. The 4 pillars that the veil separating the holy place from the most holy place were each made to stand upon a single silver socket. 96 plus 4 equals 100 talents cast into the silver sockets. The remaining 1,750 were cast into the silver hooks and clasps connecting the linens. Clearly, the silver socket that forms the foundation sanctuary of the tabernacle find their origins in the redemption price paid for every soul that the Lord freed from slavery. This memorial of the Lord's redemption is the foundation upon which the frame of the tabernacle stands upon. All of its upright boards and pillars upon which the veil of the most holy place was hung, and together with the boards upheld the coverage above. Finally, it should be noted that not only is silver a noble metal that is resistant to corruption, but is also the only metal to have a purifying or antimicrobial effect upon all that it touches. In modern times, the weight of each socket was approximately 100 pounds, being a total weight of this foundation sockets of 5 tons, 5 times 2,000, 10,000 pounds. So this is a substantial foundation that it rested upon. Outwardly, the sanctuary appeared to be a common animal skin tent pitched in the wilderness, but inwardly it was a glorious temple to behold. The glory began to be observed in its foundation of redemption. Silver has been used since antiquity for making jewelry and coins due to its decorative beauty. It has been used in silverware and in making vessels to house water and wine, due in part to its antimicrobial ability to shun and combat impurities. When the Lord instructed Moses to carry out the census, it was so that they would know they were a redeemed people, bought with a price. This is not the same as a simple purchase. The term redemption means the action of regaining, or gaining possession of something in exchange for a payment or clearing of the debt. So when they're redeemed, a payment has to be made to regain them or to remove their debt. To regain something that once belonged to you, or to gain possession of it through the payment of its debt, it is sought by captives. The captive soldiers depended on their government to regain their redemption. When you have hostages or whatever, in wartime or whatever, and there's a negotiation goes on, there's always some price that's asked for to free those hostages. And if that's not paid, then they may perish. It is the foundation of the entire covenant that the Lord entered Adam into after he had fallen and sought redemption. The Lord promised in his covenant that he would redeem all repenting sinners whose faith rested upon his word through the seed of the woman. The Lord purposed through this census that every individual man would know and understand that the price for their redemption had been paid. That price could be observed through the memorialized foundational silver sockets and the entire sanctuary stood about. And remember, it was the Lord who had moved the Egyptians to give gifts to the Hebrews when they were freed from slavery. So the gold and the precious metals and things like that, they'd already been given. And all they had to do was give a portion, 10 shekel, 1/2 shekel back as memorial and as to be part of the sanctuary, and a fundamental part, the foundation of the sanctuary. This price was the priceless sacrificial blood of the Son of God. The silver sockets and golden boards were made from among the most incorruptible materials known on earth. But even the silver and gold used in the tabernacle pattern to illustrate the plan of God's redemption of man through Christ cannot compare in value, purity, or character to the incorruptible Son of God. Know that you were not redeemed with corruptible things like silver and gold from your aimless conduct received by tradition from your fathers, but with the precious blood of Jesus, as of a lamb without blemish and without spot. You were not your own. You are bought with a price. You are a redeemed believer. In summary, the foundation of the silver sockets that memorialize the price of redemption of the former captives, upon which the entire sanctuary stood upon, foreshadowed the price of redemption through the priceless blood of the Son of God, through which the covenant would be fulfilled in the reconciliation of man to God. It is essential for the redeemed in Christ to individually grasp that foundation, to see our need of redemption, and to recognize its only source, to approach God in faith, personally seeking redemption, and glorifying that through the price of his blood, we belong to Jesus and he belongs to us. The silver foundation of redemption is where repentant silvers obtain their right standing with God. So we looked at the sockets. Now we're going to look at these gold overlaying tabernacle boards. So the sockets are down here, and the boards are here, as we saw earlier. The tabernacle boards were made from acacia wood uprights. The biblical description is given us as, and thou shalt make boards for the tabernacle of shittim wood standing up. The boards were to be overlain with gold, and thou shalt overlay the boards with gold, and make their rings of gold for places for the bars, that thou shalt overlay the bars with gold. So those are the bars that come in behind on the exterior of the sanctuary to keep everything fit together. The boards were hewn from Arcadia wood, overlaid with pure gold to stand upright in the sockets. All the furnishings in the sanctuary were made from these same materials. The mercy seat and the 7-branch lampstand were made of pure gold. The Ark of the Covenant, the table of showbread, the altar of incense were made from Arcadia wood overlain with gold. There's some modern Arcadia wood outdoor furniture. Acacia, I keep saying Arcadian, acacia or Acadia wood has natural oils that provide protection against the elements. These powerful oils make acacia wood resistant to fire damage and prevent the wood from shrinking, cracking, or splintering over time. They help acacia wood furniture maintain its luster for years without fading. The natural oils in acacia wood also make it naturally resistant to insects and pests, especially termites. Acacia wood is also naturally antimicrobial, water resistant, and resistant to rot, decay, and insect damage. Acacia wood is often used to create casting boards or cutting boards and other food preparation tools, since it is naturally antimicrobial and water resistant. Due to its growing climate, it adapted to frequent bushfires and is fire resistant. It's not fireproof, but it's very hard to light it on fire. Acacia wood is smooth to the touch, doesn't splinter or chip, and is resistant to scratches. It can be treated with a protective finish to increase its natural moisture and decay resistance. With considerable strength and the ability to hold its own weight numerous times over, acacia wood is often used to build flooring that won't get scratched or dent. All of these characteristics make it an ideal choice of the wood of the tabernacle wilderness environment. The prophetic significance of acacia wood in the sanctuary of the tabernacle. The usage in the tabernacle pattern of acacia wood in sanctuary is profoundly significant and points to the humanity and earthly act of Jesus foretold by the prophets. It illustrates his divine appointment as the foretold anointed seed of the woman, whose lineage traces all the way back to Adam and Eve at the onset of the covenant. So it represents his humanity the root of Jesse, Isaiah 11, 1 to 2. Then a shoot shall spring up from the stump of Jesse, and a branch from his roots will bear fruit. The Spirit of the Lord will rest on him, the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and strength, the Spirit of knowledge and the fear of the Lord. Matthew 1:1. This is the record of the genealogy of Jesus Christ, the son of David, the son of Abraham. See how, we're just talking about a shoot will spring up from the stump of Jesse, with the branch, which is related to David and his father, etc. So this is the record of the genealogy of Jesus Christ, the son of David, the son of Abraham. Then one of the elders said to me, "Do not weep. Behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, has triumphed to open the scroll and its 7 seals." So these are all talking about the Jesus being that seed of the woman, that through all of these genealogies, through the relationship he has with all of the redeemed as the seed of the woman. Revelation 22:16. I, Jesus, have sent my angel to give you this testimony for the churches. I am the root and offspring of David, the bright morning star. Zechariah 6:12. And speak unto him, saying, Thus speaks the Lord of hosts, saying, Behold, a man whose name is a branch, and he shall grow up out of his place, and he shall build a temple of the Lord. Yes, he will build a temple of the Lord. He will be clothed in splendor and will sit on his throne and rule, and he will be a priest on his throne, and there will be a peaceful counsel between the two. We talked about this verse previously, but this is all going to the dual nature. First of all, the wood is talking about the humanity and and his relationship to humanity. Aaron's staff that buds, the chosen anointed, and the sign of the resurrection. Then Moses placed the staffs before the Lord in the tent of the testimony. The next day Moses entered the tent of the testimony and saw that Aaron's staff, which is his wooden rod, representing the house of Levi, had sprouted, put forth buds, blossomed, and produced almonds. So this dead wood came to life and produced fruit. And this was kept in the Ark of the Covenant because they were arguing about who should be the anointed. Aaron was chosen as the anointed high priest, but his other brothers and tribe members, heads of other tribes, said, why him? Why is he the anointed? Why is he the chosen one? So they're supposed to all put their staff, the head of each tribe, in the sanctuary, and God would reveal his choice for the anointed, and only Aaron's rod budded. And just as Paul describes the resurrection of Jesus as the sign of his being the anointed, his resurrection, you can't fake that. This dead wood, this dead human, this dead humanity came to life and produced, and was the first fruits of the resurrection and the first fruits of our life in the fulfillment of the covenant. For since death came through a man, the resurrection of the dead also comes through a man. For as in Adam all die, so in Christ all will be made alive. Romans 6:5. For if we have been united with him like this in his death, we will certainly also be united with him in his resurrection. In summary, the acacia wood employed in the artifacts of the tabernacle foretell the acts of Christ in his humanity in fulfillment of the covenant. In choosing to reject the covenant, humanity was subject to death and captivated by sin. In fulfillment of his covenant, Jesus was born in the nature of humanity as a foretold seed of the woman, as our kinsman redeemer. In his human nature, he was more than a mere man. He was divinely born at the appointed time to make atonement for all those whose faith rested in the word of God. In his death and resurrection, he became the first fruits of the life given to all believers. So now that wood was overlaid with gold. Refined pure gold is defined as being a rare, noble metal. Gold is very rare and is nearly incorruptible due to its resistance to chemicals, acids, and corrosions. Non-noble metals are referred to as base metals and are much more abundant and much more easily corrupted, rust, oxidation, etc. It has gold has an extremely high melting point of over 1900 degrees Fahrenheit. It has high electrical conductivity, so it conducts energy very well. It is very dense and malleable or soft. Its density and malleability mean that just 1 gram of gold can be beaten down to a transparent square yard sheet. It is highly reflective and the only yellow colored metal. These properties all play a part in gold's desirability, whether in decorative jewelry or as a currency or in its many practical applications and uses throughout the modern world. Gold in the biblical testimony refers to the purity and majestic divinity of God. Where there is gold in prophecy, there is found the presence of God. The dual nature of Jesus, equally being both the Son of God and the Son of Man, is prophetically foretold in the artifacts of the tabernacle that were revealed to be made of acacia wood and overlain with pure gold. What has been less fully understood is that each of these artifacts made of, I put the wrong word there, should have been acacia wood, and gold are the merits that all believers will personally receive and become through the fulfillment of the covenant of redemption through Jesus Christ. The lampstand was made of pure gold and illustrates the source of the light and spirit of God. Believers receive that light and spirit, but never seek to become that source which alone is from God. The pure gold mercy seat is the atoning sacrifice which eternally belongs to the righteousness of Christ alone. Believers receive this atonement, but never seek atonement through their own righteousness. The pure gold that which believers receive, but do not seek to become. I've made this mistake. The acacia wood overlain with gold is that which believers receive and become. Starting with the tabernacle boards that are made to stand upright upon the foundation of the redemption on their own 2 feet. The gold in this scenario represents the refinement of believers through the ongoing acts of redemption and sanctification of the Lord. 1 Peter 1:6-7. In this you greatly rejoice, though now for a little while you may have had to suffer grief in various trials, so the proven character of your faith, more precious than gold, which perishes even though refined by fire, may result in praise, glory, and honor at the revelation of Jesus Christ. Zechariah 13:9. This third I will bring through the fire. I will refine them like silver and test them like gold. They will call on my name, and I will answer them. I will say, these are my people, and they will say, the Lord is our God. So this is talking about the redemption, the redeemed believers, which these boards represent. For the light, or 2 Corinthians 4:17. For our light and momentary affliction is producing for us an eternal weight of glory that is far beyond comparison. 1 Corinthians 15:53-54, overlain with gold. For the perishable must be clothed with the imperishable, and the mortal with immortality. When the perishable has been clothed with the imperishable, and the mortal with immortality, then the saying that is written will come to pass. Death has been swallowed up in victory. So you see how the mortal puts on the immortality, we not only observe this in Christ, this dual nature that's shown in the tabernacle, but we inherit that, we become that, we put on our perishable bodies are overlain with gold. We put on an imperishable, eternal body. So these are these things that have to do with the acts of Christ and his dual nature, humanity and divinity, have to do with things that we actually become in the fulfillment of the covenant. And just as we are born the likeness of the earthly man, so shall we bear the likeness of the heavenly man. When Christ, who is your life, appears, then you will also appear with him in glory. Believers in the Lord are under his divine protection, care, and redemptive creation. We are generally unaware of all the ways through which we are protected from the seed of Satan that seeks daily to destroy us. However, when we do face trials, and we must endure, these too are allowed by God and purpose to increase our faith, so that through this the Lord can highly exalt us at his coming as the redeemed of God. Job was unaware of the reasons or purpose of the Lord in allowing Satan to test him in his trials. God blesses his people, and the evil accuser maintains that without these gifts from God, his people would curse God to his face. Job endured many trials beyond those of most any other biblical patriarch. His wife encouraged him to curse God, and his fellow believers tried to convince him that he was cursed by God for an act he was trying to conceal. Though Job suffered and struggled to understand, his longing for the Lord only increased. After his fiery trial, the Lord returned double to Job for all that he had lost. Job's longing for the Lord, in spite of all his earthly gifts being taken away, silenced the accuser in demonstrating that Job loved the giver more than the gifts. This justified the righteousness of the Lord and his gifts out of his love to those who loved him, as opposed to some carnal mean of trying to purchase their love. The price of redeeming sinners could not be paid by them and was most costly to God. What can a sinner give in return but his love? Job 23, 9 and 10. When he is at work in the north, I cannot behold him. When he turns to the south, I cannot see him. This is talking about how we don't even see all the things that he does, to protect us. Yet he knows the way I have taken. When he has tested me, I will come forth as gold. My feet have followed in his tracks. I have kept his way without turning aside. When Jesus went to the cross, no man has ever endured such trial and testing of his love for God and his love for repentant sinners seeking reconciliation with God. As he hung on the cross, mocking sinners hurled insulting accusations of him being cursed by God. Who hath believed our report, and to whom is the arm of the Lord revealed? For he shall grow up before him as a tender plant, and as a root out of the dry ground. He hath no form or comeliness, and when we shall see him, there's no beauty that we should desire him. He is despised and rejected of men, a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief. And we hid, as it were, our faces from him. He was despised, and we esteemed him not. Surely he hath borne our griefs and carried our sorrows, that we did esteem him stricken, smitten of God, and afflicted. But he was wounded for our transgressions, he was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace was upon him, and with his stripes we are healed. It is directly through this atoning act in demonstrating of his love for God and for man that the Lord is justified in highly exalting him above all others in his resurrection. It is through our faith in believing this report that we receive the merits of his atonement in our earthly walk with him, surrounded by his righteousness, standing upon the foundation of his redemption, in this being found upright in our standing with God. But upon his return, mortal believers become as he is, overlain with imperishable and incorruptible bodies, so that we may dwell together into eternity in the absence of the presence of sin. If we didn't become like him, if we didn't receive eternal bodies, then how could we dwell? We would, he would continually lose us. We would continually, perish. So this overlaying with gold is a part of the covenant, and our preparation from the day we start walking with God till the day He returns, and we're raised up, or we're lucky enough to be alive when He returns. We become in an instant like Him, overlain with gold, and that's these tabernacle boards, these 46 boards that are the framework of the whole tabernacle, and this redeemed believers, that's the framework of the whole covenant, represent this. They represent the redeeming work of the Lord, standing on the foundation of His righteousness, and based on His acts in the dual nature of humanity and divinity. I counsel you to buy from me gold refined by the fire, so that you may become rich, and white garments, which is righteousness, so that you may be clothed, and your shameful nakedness not exposed, and salve to anoint your eyes that you may see. Revelation 3:18. I want you to see this. I want you to see, your need for a redeemer, your need for redemption. And when you see that, and you see the beauty of the redeemer, and when you see that, you'll become what you behold. The tabernacle pattern is the prophetic blueprint of the fulfillment of the covenant by Jesus. The framework of the entire covenant is the redemption of every repentant believer from Adam to the last. The 46 tabernacle boards that form the framework of the tabernacle represent the redeemed believers in Christ from Adam until those living at His coming. Measuring the tabernacle boards. And thou shalt make the boards of the tabernacle 20 boards. And we went through this all before, so it's going to save this a little bit. There's a total of 46 boards that compose the framework of the tabernacle. 20 boards on the south side, 20 boards on the north sides, and 6 boards on the far west side that creates the furthest wall of the most holy place. The dimension of each board is 10 cubits high and 1.5 wide. This framework represents the redeemed believers throughout history in all of the days from Adam to the last generation. The atonement for the redeemed believer is represented as occurring on the mercy seat of the Ark of the Covenant, housed within the most holy place inside the walls formed by the gold overlaying tabernacle boards. We start by measuring the dimensions given for the tabernacle boards and applying these to the biblical covenant fulfillment event timeline that we have observed previously. So this is our first observation. So we take the 46 boards. So when applying the rule of a day is as 1,000 years and 1,000 years a day to the tabernacle boards and the Ark of the Covenant and its mercy seat, we observe 46 boards. What's the width of each board is 1.5, and the hours in a day are 24. 46 times 1.5 times 24 equals 1656, just like the 1656 we noticed from Adam to the Ark of Noah. 46 times 1.5 is 69, so that's the number we did before. So we take that times the mercy seat. So this is the width of the board. Now this is the width of the mercy seat, 1.5 mercy seat width, which is 69 times 1.5 times 24 equals 2484, which is the same as this 2484-year period between the flood and the Ark of Noah and the ministry of Jesus. We take this same number, the 46 times 1.5 times 1.5 times 2.5, which is the mercy seat length. So we have 69 times 2.5, which is the mercy seat length, times 24 equals 4140. So it's the same 4,140 years that we observed between Adam and Jesus, the ministry of Jesus. And then we take the height, which we looked at more recently in the crown event of the Ark of the Covenant. So the same number of 46 times 1.5 times 2.5, the height of the crown event is 1.5, equals 172.5. Sorry, 172 times 1.5 of the crown event equals 4140 times 1.5 is 6210, which falls in our generation. Even when you don't use any time frame. Remember, a cubit is a measurement of distance from one point to the other. A day is a measurement of distance from one point to the other. But even if you take out any other unit of measurement and just take the numbers by themselves, so you'd have 46 times 1.5, which is the width of each one, times 10, which is the height of each one, equals 690. 690 times 1.5, which is the mercy seat width, 1035, which meets with this same number, the 1035 years from Enoch to the Ark of Noah. Then you take the 135 times 2.5, which is the mercy seat length, and you get 258.75, which is the exact period of time from Adam to Moses when the covenant was given to the people. So the numbers, that we see here is here that we observe that just as the covenant fulfillment event timeline matched the 1.5 times 2.5 mercy seat pattern and the pattern of weekly, yearly, and Jubilee Sabbaths, and the soft material dimensions, that the framework of believers matches the same covenant timeline. So this is our first general observation. And I say that because we will not dwell too long on these preliminary observations, other than to recognize that their direct prophetic relationship to the covenant event fulfillment timeline. The main reason for this is because the Lord purposed in the revelation of the framework of his tabernacle composed of redeemed believers to be drawn to observe the sacred artifacts that hold the entire framework in place. Without these two artifacts, the framework is incomplete. It is not even possible for it to become fit together to form a single tabernacle. Here's the challenge. We are given the blueprint of the tabernacle through the word of the Lord, revealed to and recorded by Moses in the covenant code. But Moses did not receive an actual diagram or illustration for its construction. Instead, the Lord specifically instructed Moses to enlist the help of those he had been preparing all their lives in their servitude in Egypt for this task. In doing so, he would fill them with the Holy Spirit to empower them to complete it exactly as it had been revealed to Moses. Moses oversaw the work, aided by others who had helped complete it. And the Lord spoke with Moses, saying, "See, I have called by name Bezalel, the son of Uri, the son of Hur, of the tribe of Judah. And I have filled him with the Spirit of God, in wisdom, and in understanding, and in knowledge, and in all manner of workmanship, to devise cunning work, to work in gold, and in silver, and in brass, and in cutting of stones to set them, and in carving of timber, to work in all manner of workmanship. And I, behold, I have given with him Oholiab, the son of Ahisamach, of the tribe of Dan. And in the hearts of all that are wise-hearted, I have put wisdom, that they may make all that I have commanded them: the tabernacle of the congregation, the ark of the testimony, and the mercy seat that is thereupon, and all of the furniture of the tabernacle. So Moses could reveal, as we've read, exactly how many boards, what the dimensions are, etc. But it was given to others to help him put that together, those that were filled with the Spirit, those that had the skill to do it. So here's a challenge that was left to these Spirit-filled craftsmen to resolve. There are 20 boards each on the north and south side that are each 1.5 wide. So 20 times 1.5 is 30. So you have 30 cubits on one side, 30 cubits on the other side. And there are only 6 boards on the west side that are each 1.5. 6 times 1.5 is 9 cubits. 2 corner boards that are 1.5 connect the west wall to the north and south. But how is it possible for the most holy place to be 10 by 10 by 10, so 10 wide, 10 long, and 10 high, and the holy place to be 20 by 10 by 10, if this west wall is only 9? So to give an example, how people have, and I don't want to criticize anybody, but I've searched and I've searched and I've searched for diagrams to use or illustrations to use for these tabernacle boards. And you typically find examples like this, where, and I'll show you a bigger close-up of it on the next page here, but where they have taken the corner boards, and on this one they've just slapped them on the inside, and this one slapped them on the outside. So that these, I'll show you over here. It's easier over here. So it says right on this one that the tabernacle is only 10 cubits on the outside, but 9 on the inside. Well, that's pretty incomplete when these are 10 by 10 by 9. And if you look at this one, same thing. The corner boards are just put over here on the outside and slapped on there. And so these are still just 6 boards in here. So still just 9. So it's a tabernacle that is supposed to be 10 by 10 by 10, that in reality, and it's always this one thing. When you look at tabernacles and diagrams of them, it's this one thing. And I've seen them put on this side of on the outside over here as connecting. I've seen them put in all kinds of different places. But I've struggled to find one that actually shows and pictures this with the exact way it's described in the Bible, that actually results in a 10 by 10 by 10 most holy place. The solution rests entirely on the exact placement of the 2 corner boards. The tabernacle was made of boards. The temple that followed was made of stones. The corner boards of the tabernacle are as essential to it as the cornerstone is to the temple. Both the original corner boards and the subsequent cornerstone do not represent the framework of the redeemed believers illustrated in the 46 boards. So those 46 boards in the framework represent redeemed believers. The corner boards represent the atoning acts of Christ himself in his dual nature of humanity and divinity that made it possible for the believers to be redeemed and fit together with him to be a holy temple where redeemed sinners could tabernacle or dwell with the Lord. The corner boards are not an afterthought. Now, therefore, you are no more strangers and foreigners, but fellow citizens with the saints of the household of God, and are built upon the foundation, which we've looked at, of redemption of the apostles and prophets, Jesus Christ himself being the chief cornerstone, in whom all the building fitly framed together grows into a holy temple in the Lord, in whom you also are built together for a habitation of God through the Spirit. So as we now proceed to observe the corner boards, I can share in advance with you that is one of the most significant observations that we will make together in this book. It casts tremendous light upon everything we have observed so far and everything that remains to be observed. The entire biblical covenant event timeline from Adam at the first to our generation at the end, and all of the prophetic observations of the tabernacle pattern can be seen in a clarity that we otherwise would not have observed and had not and has not been observed beforehand. So that's what we'll be studying next week. Part 2 is just the whole hour on these corner boards and where they're placed and what that means and how you see it in such a beauty and how we can clearly see ourselves and our generation, how it all fits together with every other generation. So we've looked today at the foundation, which is these silver sockets of redemption. And we've looked at the boards, the framework, which are redeemed believers who not only receive the merit of, but become like the dual nature of Jesus in his humanity and divinity. But we're about to observe the chief cornerstone, how these two corner boards specifically relate to the ministry and both the earthly ministry and the return of Christ. So I'm going to stop sharing now. I think my time is up, and there's another speaker waiting to go after me. And yep. So there we have it.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
I like that about the bones, the tendons and stuff too.
Right.
And talked about the gold and transparency, and that's what they talk about. I think Mrs. White about the gold streets in heaven.
Yeah.
It was almost like it was see-through, and I'm like, how can you see through?
Gold. Yeah.
But that's going to be something else to walk on.
And gold in its purest form is transparent. The visors for the astronauts were made of pure gold. So, yeah, gold is transparent when it's completely pure.
Yeah. They're
But
I
it
know-
can't be transparent, or wouldn't have a color. To me, transparency is clear, but anyway.
That's correct. That's correct. It is clear.
No, but that's the thing is that there's even when you have a gold bar, it's 99.9% pure. It's not 100% pure, because that impurities, for example, there's often silver in gold, but that's considered an impurity because it's not gold. So Kimberly's right in the fact that it's transparent, but it is given a color when it's when it's non 100%.
It's a lesson. It's a lesson. How does a refiner know when silver is purified in the fire? The refiner sees his reflection in it.
Right.
How does he know? How does the refiner know that gold is pure? It's all that when you look at the gold, you don't even see the gold. You see only the refiner. So that's the lesson. The gold is like the 144,000. You don't even see the people anymore. You see only Christ in them. Whereas the silver is people reflect his character.
But thank you, Brent, and I'm looking forward to next week. That was excellent. I'm going to go ahead and turn the YouTube off and back on for anybody that's on there, so you can go ahead and keep talking.
Okay.
Brett, I've got a simple question.